bring the band in. Woo! Well, all right. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Between Rounds. We've got the one, the only, smooth Ben Henderson joining us today.
Thanks, Mike.
Pretty awesome. One of my favorite dudes of all time. Today is the 13th anniversary of you beating Frankie Edgar in Japan, hence the shirt to show some support and honor that day, because what a cool day it was.
It was a
Thanks
fun
for
day.
coming on, man.
Yeah, of course. My honor. It's been 13 years. Makes me feel really old. Makes us feel really old. Like, oh man, that's 13 years ago. Wow.
I was telling Crouch about it earlier. So I wasn't like super into watching MMA, right? I was like the typical like just wrestling fan that was just like, oh, I'm gonna watch UFC tonight. And you were fighting Frankie, and I didn't know you trained out of Phoenix.
Wow.
I didn't know anything about you, but I knew Frankie from the wrestling world. And so I was like, I hope this Frankie guy wins. And then fast forward now. Yeah, I know. I'll see you later. And then fast forward now, like made a fan of me instantly that night, watching you like break him down simultaneously over and over again. Like it's one of my favorite fights, and it's just crazy that you can fast forward now. And then I walked in the gym, and you were one of the first people I ever went with. So it's weird little small circle right there.
That's funny. I was walking into the building, there's a picture of you on the window, and it's that fight. You throwing that, like, you threw a body kick, Frankie caught it and was trying to take you down, chased you across the ring, and you jumped up and threw a head kick, and the whole place went, holy cow, this kid is trying to kill him. And it was, I honestly thought it was it set the tempo for the rest of the fight. Like, I'm going to try to kill you.
Yeah. By any means possible, in any way I can. That was, the wrestling single leg defense.
Yeah.
You do the flip. That's where I got it from. I did it when I was in college at the UNO Open.
You did the backflip in college?
Yeah. I did the backflip while I was in college.
Somebody needs to give you credit for that, because I didn't get cool until like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I did the backflip in college, but I got in trouble because I didn't do it very well. No one ever showed it to me, like taught me it. I saw someone else do it, so then I did it. I kicked the kid in the head. I got in trouble for it.
So that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, this works.
I was like, for everybody, like, maybe I could like not kick him in the head on accident, maybe I could do it on purpose. So that's where the idea came from that single leg defense in wrestling.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I
can't believe you had the cojones to do that.
Yeah.
I never had the balls to do shit like that. I was like, I could backflip, but I'm probably not gonna.
Well, we're gonna start. When we were talking about how to do this with you, there's so much stuff and so many cool things to talk about. I thought we'd just start with the beginning and timeline through it. You were born in Colorado Springs.
Yep.
And your brother Julius was born
in Seoul, Korea.
And so how did that happen?
My dad was in the Army. Went over there to go do his duty, do his service, and met my mom, and I think they got married here actually, and then they went back to Korea, and then my brother was born there, and then came back to based in what is that, Fort Carson?
Fort Carson.
Yeah, Fort Carson, Colorado
That's just
Springs.
south of Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I've been there. My grandparents grew up in Colorado Springs. So what then what happens? Where do you go from there?
I think of as myself, in my own head, I think of it as being a little bit of a country boy, because I was raised in West Virginia, North Carolina, from all my dad's side of the family. So from like, I don't know, newborn to like 5 or 6 or 7 or so, I was raised over there. So I was like the yes ma'am, yes sir, and all that like, down south stuff, That's what I think of as, in my head, I see myself. But from there, then to Federal Way, Washington.
And what brought you to Federal Way?
Just my mom trying to get away from my dad.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And she's like, this is the farthest.
Yes, yeah, literally the farthest way I can go away, from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. She had some family, some Korean emo, some Ajuma's friends and stuff that she called sisters. So she needed a place to get away, so she went to Federal Way.
And she knew them? They were in Federal Way?
Yeah, they were all the other wives of military soldiers. They are based in Fort Lewis in Tacoma. Yeah. So there's a big, huge Korean population over there. So that's where she went.
And Federal Way is closer to Tacoma than it is to Seattle.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Stone's throw away, right next to it.
That's awesome. So tell us about growing up in Federal Way.
Federal Way is cool. 253. Actually, just came across some silly Facebook thread about all the people who came out of Federal Way. We had a bunch of like basketball stars. Michael Dickerson played in the NBA for a little while. A couple of baseball players came out of Federal Way, and I was thrown up there too for wrestling.
As you should be.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, cool, like awesome. There's a lot of guys. But featherweight is cool, super, just regular, normal, like nothing at all crazy.
Is it like suburban life, like there
Yeah,
a little bit?
Yeah, regular, normal, like nothing crazy, nothing like no big stories, just regular life.
Because I had a couple teammates from Tacoma, and they were wild boys.
Yeah.
Those Tacoma boys,
They
were tough.
Some of the Tacoma boys, they're a little bit wild, a little bit crazier. Well, even some of the Seattle boys too, like Burke Barnes, Anthony, what's his name? All those Seattle wrestlers, they were pretty crazy too.
I didn't realize either, too, like getting a little bit off subject, but one of my college teammates, Shane Onifer, he coaches now for Auburn High School. Do you know where that is?
Yeah, I know Auburn.
Yeah, so he coaches for them now, and he posted a picture at the state tournament. I didn't realize how big wrestling was in Washington.
Yep.
Right? Like the state tournament there, you guys have that in the dome? And
Yeah, the Tacoma Dome.
Yeah, he had 20.
Yeah.
He had 24 mats down.
Yeah.
That's like Fargo. Fargo has 25, and that was the biggest tournament I've ever been to. And I remember walking in, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, the people don't realize, but yeah, the Washington State tournament is pretty big. They still do the classes. It's like 5A, 4A, 3A, whatever. But they do it all in one tournament, so it's like 24 mats. It's huge. It's a big tournament.
That is a big tournament.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I mean, and I didn't, just being ignorant, I guess, like, I thought, like, PA, California, New Jersey, Ohio, that's like where all the good, but you get a ton of tough dudes out of Washington.
Well, there's no more collegiate program. There might be now, but when I was younger, coming out of high school a long time ago, there were only like one JUCO program, Highline Community College was the only program that had a collegiate program. UW closed down a long time ago. I don't know if Wazoo ever had one, but all the collegiate programs all shut down. So every good in-state guy had to go out of state. A lot of them went to Boise State before their program shut down. A lot of them went to Boise State, or down to Oregon State as well. So a lot of those guys are all just Washington kids.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool.
When did you start wrestling?
I didn't start wrestling until my freshman year in high school.
Really?
Yeah. So I got on the train a little late. All the other kids like Hamill here been wrestling since they were 5 and 6 and stuff. I started wrestling freshman. I had no stance. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. My coach, my coach Mike Bressler, who is now in the Hall. I've been blessed with a lot of great coaches. Mike Bressler in the Hall of Fame for wrestling coaches.
That is awesome.
My college coach Steve Costanzo. He's still coaching, but he got inducted into the Hall of Fame for college coaches as well. John Crouch, when you're done, you'll be inducted to the MMA Coaches Hall of Fame also.
Dude, that is crazy, though. You had 3 just
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame great coaches. And good coaches, but just, good guys, too. So help.
Yeah, because for people out there who don't understand, if you don't start wrestling until high school, the chances of you going past high school are less than 0%. Yeah. Like, it's got to be, right? Like, you are the anomaly.
Yeah, pretty slim. I definitely didn't hit, like, I was decent in success enough in high school, not great at all. I was a one-time placer, took second my senior year, but just wanted to keep on wrestling. I don't actually know how, but Steve Costanzo from Dana College somehow got my information and connected me, went on the visit to go check out Nebraska. I was like, I want to keep wrestling, and started wrestling in Nebraska, but...
What was it like when you got your first call? Because I remember when I started getting recruited, right? You get that first call from a college coach, and you're like, about shit your pants. You're so excited. You get all giddy.
Yeah,
but then you go on your recruiting trip, because it's probably pretty similar, right? Like, Washington is very beautiful, real nice, and you went to the middle of nowhere, Nebraska.
That culture shock is a real thing. That culture shock going from, the diversity of Seattle, Tacoma area, every culture, every different type of food, all that ethnicities, all that kind of stuff. Then going to the middle of Nebraska, I was like, oh, this is a little different. This is a little different. Okay.
Got boys and shit kickers in Copenhagen in their mouth.
It was pretty wild, pretty crazy. So big, huge culture shock for me. But getting that first, for me, it wasn't even a phone call, it was the letters because I'm older. So it was just getting a letter in the mail about all the different colleges. I didn't have a lot of them. I had a couple JUCO, a couple NAIA, like maybe D2, like 1 or 2 D2s, a D3 or whatever. So I was stoked with that. I got all the letters like, Mom, look, I got another letter. Oh,
yeah.
I'm actually.
How excited was she?
Yeah, she has some of those saves still.
I bet, like, because being an immigrant and then you're having your son go to a university, that's got to be a huge deal, right? You're the first person in your family, I'm assuming. Yeah,
she was pretty stoked.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool for her and you.
Did you decide right away? Was it Dana College right away for you?
I actually was going between William Penn University over in Dubuque, Iowa, I think. Were they in Dubuque?
I've heard of William Penn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to find it on the map.
No.
But I have heard of it.
I'm sorry, William Penn.
Little rat bastards. Don't be sorry for those guys. Screw you, William Penn. But it was down between William Penn and Dana College. And I ended up picking Dana just because Steve, the head coach, was such an awesome guy. I could tell, he's a good person. I assumed he was a good coach and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, he knows more than I do. So, but I assume he was a good coach. But just how good of a person he was. When I went on the recruiting trip down to Dana, and then my I call him captain, Win Fangmeyer, was the guy who took me on around the campus, all that kind of stuff. And he was a super cool, awesome guy too, super friendly. So that's why I ended up picking Dana over William Penn. But really, those are my last two selections. And Dana gave me a little more money too, so that is a big deal. Yeah,
it is. Absolutely.
That's a big deal right there.
So how was it there? Like you say, it was culture shock. What was it like when you moved in? Because had you been away? You'd never been away from home?
No, at that point, I'd never really been away from home, been away from my mom. I remember that freshman year, going somewhere new, middle of Nebraska, all that kind of stuff. About Christmas, Thanksgiving time, right around Thanksgiving time, I have money to go home for Thanksgiving that first year. I broke down bad. I miss home. Oh, Mom, I miss you so much. And so that was hard in that sense, 17-year-old, I went to school a little bit early, 17 years old, missing my mom, missing my brother, missing home and all that kind of stuff.
Dude, but it's rough that freshman year. Not only are you away from home, it's cold there.
Yeah.
Right?
Another type of cold.
Yeah.
Another type of cold I had to experience.
You get that wind
I was like,
yeah.
You get the wind chill. I was like, the jacket I had was not enough. This jacket is not meant for Nebraska cold. It's meant for...
I had the same thing, dude. Like when I went to Wyoming, it got cold, and then right after, because you go on Christmas break early, right?
Yeah.
And in college you get a month.
Yeah.
And we had to be there for season, and you're just there with your teammates. Nobody's in town. It's cold. I was broke. I was getting my ass beat.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I miss Arizona.
Yeah.
What have I done?
Yeah. But so a little bit your freshman year. Now, I know you through a weird roundabout way. My cousin Art was your teammate.
Yeah.
Right? Was he on the team when you had got there? Was he there right
My
right
first year was Art's first year there. He got transfers from somewhere, right? He transferred from somewhere.
Yeah, he transferred from did he transfer from Pueblo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pueblo.
So did he come over with Leister?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he transferred over, and their first year was my first year, and those guys used to beat the. You know how it is. Yeah. They beat the tar out of me mercilessly. But I was one of the only freshman who would just never give up. They beat the tar out of me. I got in a couple fights with Leister, and they beat the tar out of me, and I would just get up and keep going, get up and keep going, get up and keep going.
It's funny though. Art tells me this story, and it's just it's funny because I know you, right? I've been your teammate for years now, almost a decade. But then I hear these stories from Art. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Art says this one story where him and Leister were going, and it was a group of three, and then Art was kind of cashed out, so he goes and sits on the wall, and your coach had gotten mad at the way you and Leister were drilling, so he made you stay after.
Yeah.
And he goes, I've never seen Leister put it on somebody so hard. And he goes, and then Leister's breaking, trying to break Ben. And
he got mad.
Yeah, and he's getting more mad, so he's putting it on him. It's pretty much a fist fight, hand fighting, right? And Ben's still just right in the middle. And afterwards he goes, I'm the best in the world. And Art tells a story. He goes, who the fuck is this guy? And he goes, I just watched him gave up 200 points. And he's still going to come back and be like, I'm the best. And that's what's made you.
That's awesome.
Right? I just thought that was so funny because it's you could tell that story to somebody. And if they don't know Benson, they would just be like, that's weird. But then with me being around you and seeing how inspirational you are and can take you can take a beating just as well as you can give a beating. You know what I will, and just be there and be back. It's funny to me just hearing both sides.
Yeah, sometimes MMA, wrestling, all of it is much more about how much you can take and keep on going. You're gonna get beat up a little bit, but you gotta get back up and keep going. So I think I was always able to have that.
And you were a two-time All-American there.
At
college, right?
Yeah, it's terrible. 5-14 my freshman year. I remember that. I only won at two tournaments. I won at the UNO Open. I went 2-2 at the UNO Open.
But the UNO Open's tough.
Tough, yeah, it's tough.
That was the toughest college open.
That was the largest single day tournament at the time before they closed it.
Yeah, because I wrestled in the last ever one.
Oh, did you?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I wrestled my first match at 8 a.m. and I wrestled my third and fourth place match at 2 a.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
The largest single day tournament goes
It's a
all day long.
64-man bracket. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And the same idea, because I wasn't very good and I'd always lose, I always end up being like wrestling all day long. I'd have like 7, 8 matches in a day. Some other guys, you know, either 2-0 and they're done, or they go like, you know, 3-2 and they're done. I'd be wrestling all day long.
Yeah, if you lose in the first round of that tournament, that's a long day.
Yeah, but 5-14 my freshman year, UNO Open, and then one other tournament I went 2-2 and 3-2. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. It was 2-2 and 3-2, and then every other tournament I lost. It was terrible.
But you stuck around.
Then I stuck
at it.
around.
What was your, What was your sophomore year?
I used to have I had it all memorized. Now I forget. Well, it's 5-14. I was still under 500 the next year, but just barely.
Were you a starter?
No, not until my redshirt sophomore year.
Redshirt sophomore year?
Redshirt sophomore year, yeah. We had Pete Isham used to beat the tar on me, Art, Leister, everybody.
Art and Leister are big boys, though.
Yeah, they're big. Yeah. Art was always bigger, and he was mean, but he would have never, like, with the smaller guys, like crossing the line mean, but you know, like the kind of mean you can beat up and bully the
he's done it to me.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm sure.
Never crossed the line.
Yeah. But this is a bunch of guys that helped me get better and improve on and that kind of stuff. Derek Welty was good. His brother Brian Welty. All those guys helped me a ton.
But you ended up being 2-time All-American.
Yeah.
How were those?
Yeah. I remember losing to Darren Terry, and then his teammate, Daneko Watts. And they wrestled at Missouri Valley. And I remember losing to those guys at the national tournament. But I took fifth twice.
Fifth twice?
Yeah, I took fifth twice. My biggest thing I remember was getting inside tripped with 7 seconds left on the clock at the semifinals.
Oh,
the semis, yeah, by Jake Diffenbacher, who ended up being a 2-time NAA national champion, transferred to D1s, and I think he All-American not his first year D1, but his second year D1s. He ended up being All-American. Yeah, stud. He's a great kid.
And I'm assuming you were winning the match before you got inside tripped.
Yep, I was up, and I was in like typical fashion. I was losing, stuck around, hung around. Got a couple takedowns late in the third period, and I was like, oh, 7 seconds left. I remember looking over at the clock in my dumb butt. This is now why. Now I never look at the clock now when I'm wrestling or MMA or whatever. I don't look at the clock. I don't need to look at the clock.
Yep.
I learned my lesson. But I look over at the clock, and I looked over from like 2 feet away. He inside tripped me.
Oh.
From like 2 feet away.
Yeah.
I remember getting so mad, storming off the mat, doing my sprints. Oh.
That's one that'll break you down for a while.
Yeah.
The near the semifinals at the national tournament.
At the national tournament.
Like I'm hurt for you right now.
Like, I was going to the finals. Like, oh my God, I'm going to the finals.
Yeah. I had the same thing happen to me in high school. I was the #1 seed, and I was wrestling this kid who ended up being like a 3-time D1 qualifier for ASU. The kid was good. We shouldn't have been on the same side of the bracket. And I had a leg in, and I'd already tilted him, and so I'm up 5-2. And I'm about to tilt him again with like 10 seconds left, and it's freaking high school, so they stop it for potentially dangerous.
Oh.
And me and my coach have a really good relationship, but we have very different ideas on wrestling. And so I look at the clock, and I saw the kid on the other semifinals match who had teched that year win.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. And I look at the clock, and I got like 9 seconds, 10 seconds like that, something. I look at my coach, and I go, cut him. And he goes, no, you ride him. And I go to get on, and I look at him and go, I'm gonna cut him. And he goes, you fucking ride him. And I get on one more time. And I go, ah. And he goes, God damn it, Hamill. And so I throw in like a lazy claw ride. Kid reaches back, cups me, cartwheels over me, puts me on my back for 2 near fall, 2 reversal. And I lose in the semifinals 6-5. Yeah. And I had nightmares about that. Like straight up, like I'd wake up like, you know what I mean? So when I hear you lost, I didn't know you lost like that in the semifinals. Like I'm like, fuck, gets my heart going a bit.
Yeah, they both have beats of sweat now, going down there.
So anyways, you took fifth twice, but you were a double major.
Yeah. I redshirted, so I was there for 5 years. Like, I'm gonna stay for 5 years. Might as well have something to show for it. So I ended up getting a double major, criminal justice and sociology, pretty closely related, so it wasn't too hard. I had to take a couple of like 4 or 5 extra classes to actually get the double major. Yeah.
What did
What
you
were
end up
gonna do
wanting?
with
Yeah.
it? What did you?
Oh, actually,
Something?
I got hired. I was gonna be a police officer. That was my dream job growing up. Was always to be a police officer. Whenever I was growing up, all the kids in the neighborhood in the hood, they'd always be police and this and that blah blah. But anytime something bad happened, the first place they'd be like, hey, someone call the police. I was like, wait, like 5 minutes ago you were saying like what?
Yeah.
But now something bad happens, you say, hey, call the police. Have them come help us. And so I always liked police officers. I was a huge fan of police officers, law enforcement. So that was my dream job the whole time growing up. And then when I went to school, I was like, okay, I'll get my degree in this and I'll go be a police officer. And I had gotten hired. Actually, I applied to 3 or 4 different places. I was going to apply to 3 or 4 different places. I was going to apply to North Las Vegas because they were having a big, huge boom back then. They're having a boom now still, actually. Yeah. Denver, Omaha, and then Washington somewhere. But I ended up applying to Denver and Omaha because I made that deadline. And I got hired by both of those places, Denver and Omaha. And I was kind of debating between the two of where I was going to live. Like cost of living, how much I could find an apartment for. Like all that kind of stuff, like real world stuff.
Doing all the big boy shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is weird. Like I can find out how much the apartment's going to cost. Like, oh, how do you do that? Like, and it was before, I'm old, so we're old. That was before the phones and how easy it was. So I had to actually do some research on how to find like what an apartment to live at, like where the apartment
Going
is.
through the yellow pages.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have to have those for rent magazines.
Yes,
you have to
yes.
go snag them up and look
Oh
through.
shit.
Yeah. So it was actually a little bit difficult, but I was trying to find like where I was going to live at, Denver or Omaha. The cost of living, all yada, yada, yada. I got hired by both places. And then that's when I took my first fight. And then.
So how'd you take your first fight, though? That's an interesting story.
Yeah, the first fight was fun. It was I was coaching at Dana. It was right after a red flag practice. It was super hard, red flag, kick butt, get after it. Someone's breaking, either you or the other guy. Somebody's breaking before they leave practice. One of those ones.
Yeah, the fun ones.
Yeah, the real fun ones. But it was one of those.
Can you imagine you draw bad on those days though? You're like, he's not gonna break.
Not gonna break.
I'd be sassy.
Oh, just watching the seconds tick by.
Yeah.
Only 4,000 more seconds to go.
Yeah, it was a good one that day too. But then there was a red flag practice, and afterwards, all the guys sitting around just like this, and they were sitting like, talking smack to each other and talking crap, all this stuff, and like, Hamill will do great if you ever. He was like, time Matt Hughes is champion, a few other like collegiate wrestlers are good into MMA at that time frame. And they're like, Hamill, he would do great. Got in a cage fight, he'd do awesome. He'd kick some butt. Oh, he's super tough. Like, Crouch would do great. He'd do, he kick some butt. Oh, Destiny, she'd do great. She'd get in there, she'd throw down, she'd kick somebody's butt. Got on to me like Henderson's like, I'm not a super tough guy. I don't have that persona. I'm not really.
Got your glasses on.
Yeah, I'm not a tough guy at all. So I got around to me like Henderson's like, we don't know about you. Like, we think you'd be a little like, I was like, you guys, screw you. Like, I'm tough. I'm a man.
I put my big boy pants on today.
Yeah.
I put on my big boy pants. Look, I'm wearing a belt. I got big boy pants on.
I can fight, guys. Like I'm tough. And then guys just talking smack and egging it on. Oh yeah, prove it. I was like, yeah, I'll prove it. What do you want me to do? What do you need me to do? And so they said, there's fights here in Sokol South in downtown Omaha. There's just fights tonight. You can go and sign up. You can go fight tonight. So it was like 20 minutes after the red flag practice. It was like 3 p.m., 4 p.m.
Body's just beat down already.
Yeah. And then so we'll go to Sokol South, the Civic Center or whatever it is. You can fight tonight. So then like 3-4 hours later, I was walked into a cage, had some gloves, had some gloves on. I was like,
they make you sign.
right.
They make you sign a waiver.
Sign, yeah.
You're picking drunk hillbillies out in the crowd.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, you could go in there and just sign up, put the gloves on, and there you are. So that was my first fight ever.
Literally the Wild West.
Yeah. And that was my first fight ever.
How did it go?
I won. I had terrible, I stood like this, and it was not, my stand-up was not very.
You had to know a little bit, though, because you're a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah, but at the time, though, it wasn't necessarily, I didn't even think about Taekwondo. I thought about, just taking them down.
Yeah.
So it wasn't pretty. It was ugly. It wasn't good at all. But I ended up taking them down because I was a college wrestler.
Yeah.
I just did this a couple times. The ref stopped it. I got my hand raised. And the crowd, though, what I thought was cool was the crowd, the feeling how stoked and excited the crowd was. that's what it should feel like after every wrestling match.
Yes.
Like in high school and college, like a regular wrestling match, you get 7 people in the stands, you win like a good, hard, tough match, and there's 7 people saying, "Hey, good job, awesome." I was like, "Thanks, that's cool."
Dude, and you break yourself
Yes,
down
you
mentally.
give yourself
cutting away
everything.
everything into that sport for nothing.
Yeah.
So you
For
get,
the
like
crowd,
a cage fight.
A silly, stupid cage fight in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, and like, you know, it's not like I showed up that day. I had no training whatsoever, but the crowd, they get drunk, you know, hillbilly and everything, going crazy. I was like, oh, this is a cool feeling. Like, this is what it feels like to be a professional athlete or whatever. You're like, oh, this is really cool. So that was a good feeling. Got my hand raised. I was like, okay, well, maybe I will pursue this. Maybe I will give myself a shot. I got hired.
So you fell in love right away with it.
Yeah.
With just kind of that like feeling after you got your hand raised.
Yeah. I have to get my hand raised. Like, and I always wanted to be a professional athlete. Give myself a chance to be a professional athlete. Like I'll give myself a year and try it and see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, no big deal. I'll go back and be a police officer to Omaha or Denver or somewhere. You know, I got hired the first time, so probably I'll get hired again the second time.
How did you end
no
up
problem.
going to Denver? Because that's where we first met.
Yeah.
I met you at the Chad Klingensmith fight,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But was it Leister that brought you down?
Yep. So once I decided I was gonna get into MMA, Leister heard about it. Leister Bowling, and he was the
Turned out to be a crazy great coach in his own right.
Yeah, awesome coach. But he was a resident tough guy who was going to be in the UFC. He was a resident, guy walk around the gym and all that stuff with his shirt off. And everyone's scared of all that stuff. But he knew that I wanted to get into MMA, and at the time it was Alvin, who was his buddy from
Southern Colorado.
Some Southern Colorado.
They wrestled together before that program shut down, and then Alvin came to me.
Oh, okay.
And Leister went to Dana College.
Yeah. So he knew that there was a guy down in Denver. Like if you want to take it seriously, you can move down here. I know a couple coaches. I think he had his own like fight club started or whatever. Underground MMA or something.
Yeah.
Like
Underground MMA.
that. Yeah, the camouflage shirt. Yeah.
I never wore a camouflage shirt in my life until I cornered.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, camouflage shirt, underground MMA. I was like, okay, cool.
So that's funny. Like I love that because Leister, for whatever reason, he wasn't going to be at your fight. He was at the event, and he had to go, right?
Wow.
I don't remember what it was. He's like, hey, can you corner my guy? And I was there with Alvin. Alvin, I think, was the main event of the event. And I was like, because I didn't really like to corner people I don't know. Yeah. What am I going to say to this guy? Which turned out to be pretty true that night, too. He walked me over, and I met you, super nice. And he's like, come on, you got to do it, bro. And I'm like, all right. So we were walking out, and the fighters had to walk out one way, and the corners had to meet them at the corner. So I got my camouflage shirt on, and I'm with Art, and who's a great guy, but I didn't know him. I'd met him for the first time. And I'm looking up at the board, and you're getting introduced. Ben Henderson. And Ben says, I'm just here for the ladies. And I remember thinking to myself,
which I stole from Nick Mamler.
That's the best part of it, that's what I want you to tell about that interview, because I thought to myself, why the hell am I here if he's just here for the ladies? So Nick Mamlis, he did his interview before you, right?
Yeah, he was backstage doing all this stuff and whatever, and he had said that. I don't think for that part of the interview, but he had said it before. I was like, oh, that's a good line. That sounds cool. That sounds funny. Yeah, I'll say that. Not my personality at all. Not but I was like, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll do that.
People will love this shit.
Yeah. Didn't work out very well. So.
It's funny that's how we met, though. Like the start of a long relationship was that night. And Chad Klingensmith ended up being a really good fighter. He was like 9-1 as a pro, and we lost that fight by TKO that night. But I remember you were throwing leg kicks, but you weren't really punching before. You weren't setting them up, and so Chad would hit you with a straight right every time we threw a leg kick. And I remember turning to Art and I go, hey, what is he good at? He goes, he wrestles in college. I go turn around, I go wrestle. And I remember the ref stopped it, and like you are, anytime you've ever gotten hurt in your career, 2 seconds later, you are 100% good to go. So like you just popped off the ground, and you're like with the ref, what? And I remember I told you, I go, it's all right, kid. There's going to be more fights to come. And you were like, But that's.
Were you pro at that point?
No, that was still amateur.
That was still amateur. Yeah. So you guys met as amateurs then?
Yeah.
That's funny. Really? And then you met with two guys from Green River, my hometown.
Yeah.
Which is another. way small world,
Yeah.
right? Like
Super small
Nick
world.
Mamlis
Yeah.
grew up down the street from me.
Green River, 2 guys off that same street, that same block.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, and we went to Utah. Do you remember that fight?
Yeah, Ogden. Went to Ogden, Utah.
Yeah, Benson picked me up in his Honda and drove, made sandwiches. We drove to Utah, fought that night, and drove back. But we were with Nick Mamlis that day.
Mm-hmm.
I taught Nick an arm lock, triangle arm lock in the hotel room. Like, we had all sorts of problems trying. They were supposed to have a hotel. They didn't. It's just normal, small fighter kind of stuff. And Nick, we were supposed to share this room with him and whoever else.
Yeah.
And Nick came in, and he was funny, like super engaging. And I taught him arm lock triangle. And then I cornered him that night because he asked me to. And in the middle of the fight, he turns to me, he points at me, and he got the move I showed him in the hotel room.
That's the
Look.
definition of Nick.
Yeah. Well, he's a freak athlete too.
Yes, freak athlete.
If he was like just a little bit bigger, but yeah, just a freak athlete and coachable that you can learn it that freaking 5 hours later and then hit it in a live fight.
Have the
Yes,
presence to
like-
do it and like not be.
I won't even let people show me stuff on Fight Week. I'm like, hey, listen, my dumb ass needs to drill this for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're not switching things up now. But that's Nick, dude. He was my favorite wrestler to watch growing up.
Yeah.
Like, because he was so talented. He should have been.
scared at all.
No,
Like,
and
from what I knew,
Yeah.
it was just that night. And then I helped corner him at some other fight we were at. I think you were there too. But he's walking around to the championship fight, and he's fighting somebody that was pretty good. I think the kid ended up being in the UFC. There was some kid from Nebraska they fought. Anyway, he's white as a sheet. Like, Nick is as pale can get. The underbelly of a fish that lives at about 5,000 feet below the ocean. So he peels this off in silver shorts, and he's walking around, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm a little nervous, wanting to go. And he walks over, he goes, I should have gotten a tan before I got out here. You see how white I look? I was like, I thought it was so cool
Yeah.
that he was, like he was in the moment. He was okay. He wasn't overwhelmed. That's what I remember from Nick Mamlis.
well, that's you too.
Yeah.
You are too chill back there almost.
Sometimes.
Yeah. You get Benson back there sleeping before a fight. What? I gotta hit mitts. All right, let's go.
That was before your WC debut. Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah.
We were all nervous our first big fight and making sure we got to be good, and it's our first time really. Well, with Benson for sure, first time. And I'd only been to a couple UFCs at that point in time. And he warms up, looks good, and then he lays his head down on a Thai pad to relax, and falls dead asleep. Dead asleep. And Adam and I are both like standing next to each other. Is this okay? He should wake up, right? I don't think it's good to sleep before you fight. Yeah, he should wake up. He walks over to you. Hey kid, you should get up and move around. Ben said, oh, okay. He just got up, moved around, went and won his debut in the WC like it was nothing.
That's hilarious.
That ability, I think, to relax and be in the moment and be okay with it being big is amazing for an athletic performer. Performer in general, probably. But
Yeah.
do you feel like you've always been able to do that?
Yeah. I wish I could
You like
say,
that wrestling?
No, wrestling. I learned to get like that, but at first I would come close to throwing up before home duels.
Mm-hmm.
I was crazy nervous, like super like, like they're looking at me. Why are they looking at me?
It's probably why you're such a good competitor,
I
though.
can't even imagine
Now,
you like
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
I can't even imagine you like that.
Yeah, it was bad. My when I finally made the starting lineup at Dana, and then like my first home duel, I was like, and there's 20 people in the stands too. Like, it's not like it's that many people, but I was so bad then. I think it definitely helped me get over my like being calm and relaxed and like big moments.
Well, dude, and wrestling is so easy to like really get nervous for. Like if you break it down, you're like, okay, it's just me and another guy out there in an empty high school gym that nobody gives a shit about. But that almost makes it worse. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm in a singlet, so you're seeing all of me, right? You're seeing whether I'm proud of it or not. Like that's that's me and that's who I am. You go, you get put on your back, you're bridging up, you got your pecker showing to everybody. Like, oh God, like wrestling, it's terrifying. I used to be the same way. Like I used to have to and it helped me be a better competitor now because I had to have good self-talk. I had to be like, you're a bad motherfucker, like in the back. Like I had to say shit, but I totally relate to that, dude. I used to be like a 6-year-old before like a state tournament, like, I think I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, I was bad. I think not until like I got better, like actually improved. My junior, senior year kind of turned it around and got more comfortable. And for me, what it was in my head, I turned it around to like, hey, not that like, oh, they're looking at me. Like, oh, hey, they're looking at me. I get to show off what I've been working on. I get to show this the new high crotch I worked on, or just how to finish this double leg, whatever it is. So in my head, what helped me turn around was how I talked to myself, or how I looked at it as, not like, oh no, they're looking at me. Oh no, like, oh hey, they're looking. I get to show off now. I get to show this new move. I get to show whatever it is. So,
yeah, like pressure is a privilege is essentially what you turned it into.
Yeah.
Well, you're in Denver then, right? You decided to come to Denver. Tell me about life in Denver.
Denver was cool. I remember the drive down, packing up all my stuff, driving down to Denver. I didn't have a place to stay. Again, back then I had the Nokia phone, so not exactly, still not a smartphone, But I ended up doing the drive to Denver. I think it's like 7 hours from
that sounds
Omaha.
about right.
Yeah, about 7 hours, something like that. But I get into Denver. I'm not very smart, so I didn't time it very well. But I got into Denver about 2 a.m. I didn't think about the timing of it. But I got into Denver about 2 a.m. Didn't have a place to stay. Didn't have anywhere to stay or anything. So I drove around downtown Denver, and I called like at 2 a.m. I called like 7, 8, 10 different places, and I figured, okay, well, the first place I called them back, they need someone to stay there. They have a vacancy, and they need someone to stay there. So hopefully they'll call me back in the morning. I'll be able to stay there. But I drove to Denver, drove around for an hour, 2 hours, pulled over to a gas station, slept at the gas station. And the first call I got that morning was the guy saying I had that room for rent. So then I had a place to stay. I was like, okay, well, I feel the nervousness. I was like, oh, okay, I got a place to stay. I got an apartment. Okay, cool, that's good. That's a relief. That's a relief. I'm not gonna sleep in my car for too long.
What do you remember about the MMA training from Denver?
All that training was good. I remember it being pretty crazy, like not knowing the exact protocol, how we should train, like throwing kicks with no shin pads on. I remember that Alvin Robinson kicking with the crap out of my legs. Like, that kind of hurts a little bit. I want him to kick me again. But I remember being Alvin's one of his only actual MMA training partners. He had a bunch of jiu-jitsu training partners from Mile Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but not a lot of MMA training partners. So then Al and I would do like 8, 9 rounds in a row, like every day.
I just started, so I didn't know how to do it either. So I remember Hoist used to train just all day.
Yeah.
Like you'd go in there for 2 hours and he'd just try to wear you out.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's how you did it. Yeah. And we didn't kick each other.
Yeah.
Hoist wasn't kicking anybody, so we didn't wear anything. So we literally had these little skinny gloves.
You had pretty much MMA gloves on.
Skinnier.
Yep.
Skinnier.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And no pads. And 8 rounds.
Yeah.
And Alvin was pretty good at the time. Alvin was in the UFC. Benson was just learning.
He was in the UFC, and you were getting in fist fights with him every day.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Eight, like literally 8, 9 rounds, just again and again and again and again. I was like, okay, let's go. Okay, let's go.
Oh man.
And yeah, I'm not stopping. I'm not gonna say, hey, coach, I think I've had enough. No more. Like, I'm not saying that. No,
I feel like a pussy just listening to
But
this.
otherwise, jiu-jitsu guys would jump in there and they would try to do their best. But like, it's a hard sport, But it's really funny back in those days.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember Ryan, all the tattoos, right?
Yeah.
He would always be all gung ho. Oh, let's go. He put the gloves on. Let's get after it.
What was his last name?
I don't remember.
He's a black belt now.
Yeah.
Under Hoist Gracie. And one of his students is Aaron Romero, the kickboxer.
Oh, yeah.
That we used to train with.
Yeah.
Which I love that story. So it was when you first were with Leister and Brian Bruce, who's another great coach.
Love Brian.
And we were sparring, and you shot in, but you shot into the guy's leg, and it put you down. And I jumped up in the ring to see if you're okay. And Leister and Brian were there with you. And I looked over the top to see if you're all right. And you started speaking Korean. And I was like, oh my God, I think they hit the reset button on this guy. It was like, I was thinking like from Toy Story.
Bitácora espacial.
What is it called? He's the guy, he hit the Spanish button.
Yeah.
I had no idea your mom was Korean.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, is he okay? And Leister looked up at me, his mom's Korean. And I remember just the relief washed over me. And I walked out of the ring. Well, Leister and Brian threw you back in.
Yeah.
And Alvin was at the end of the ring and he goes, Crouch, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. What am I doing? He points at you and you're just glazed. Like you have a body lock on the guy, but you're literally just like, why am I in here?
Yeah.
And we stopped it. But I remember that's how I learned that your mom was Korean, was that day.
That is such a wild story.
He's speaking in tongues. Oh no.
Like it's wild for multiple reasons, right? Get knocked out in sparring, never good.
No.
Then you start speaking your native language, which he didn't know. Probably not good.
Yeah.
Then they put you back in there. It just shows how far MMA has come.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was
Right.
very wild west kind of
Yeah.
days. I mean, it was one of those places where we kind of gathered to spar. It was a boxing gym at the time. That was at Delgado's, right?
No, not Diggle. We traveled somewhere for that.
Was it Childers?
It was the one next to the like the roller coaster. The
Oh, the one that was Griff's old gym.
yeah, that one.
Lakeside boxing gym. Wow. I don't remember that. Anyway, that was funny. Like, I didn't know Ben very well. And then I remember just making sure you had a ride home and stuff. And you're like, no, I'm good. I'm like, I don't know.
I've had to do that to a few people.
You're speaking a different language. So, but those days are so funny remembering back. What do you think about when you think of those days? That it was necessary to go through? Like, do you look back on them fondly or?
Yeah, it's just good hard training. I think nothing too wild and crazy about it. Definitely the evolution of all sports, like even in soccer, the way people train for soccer now compared to how they trained for soccer 30 years ago is just different. Same thing for MMA. Like MMA is such a young sport too. We got a lot of room to grow and get better and get smarter. And so back then it was hard nose training, no shin pads, getting kicked in the freaking body, wearing no shin pads and training stuff. No
Nowadays,
yeah.
just be like,
It's not
what
good,
are you doing?
but also, how many times have you seen Benson get put down with the body shot? It doesn't happen. I've gassed myself trying to do it.
He's gassed a few people. So Denver goes. What was your record when we moved to Phoenix? Do you remember? 4-1, something like that.
Yeah, like 3-1, maybe 2-1, like pretty.
Pretty young
Yeah.
still. So tell me about the move to Phoenix. Like, how'd that come about?
I remember them moving to Phoenix, and then I heard it from the Splant brothers, the Splant twins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they think, oh, we're all moving down to Phoenix. We got some gym down there. They're gonna sponsor us to move down, that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, I want to go too, guys. Like, I want to go
nobody
too.
called me.
Like, I'm gonna tag along. I'm gonna follow you guys. So I ended up tagging along, following down here to the MMA lab. Met the original owner, Jason Beck, and was able to get sponsored from the gym. I cleaned the gym, clean up the toilets, mop the mats, all that fun stuff, so I could train full time. I'd come in the mornings, I would train. If afternoons, I'd clean the place, take our bite to eat, come back for team practice, and then I take the classes at nighttime, all the jiu-jitsu classes, and then I clean up the gym at nighttime too.
So you literally lived at the gym.
Yeah, I was at the gym like
More than anybody else.
Yeah, you took the morning classes. Then you were there cleaning the gym.
Yeah.
Then you took team practice. Then you take all the night classes.
and then clean up.
All you newbies out there, take a note. Okay? You want to be great. You want to be like Benson. That's what it takes.
Well, I mean, people forget that you have to be the under guy. Like, you gotta be, in the old days, you'd apprentice to the silversmith, and you'd go clean the shop and wash the this and do the that, and over the years, you learn to be the silversmith yourself. And we don't want to do that now. We want to step right into the lead role, whatever that is. And like Benson's ability, I think, is unique, and that has made you like you are. But you brought your kind of like, I'm not quitting attitude the whole time, and so I do think that's a lesson for younger fighters that they don't get. That's pretty amazing. So tell me how you got into WC. So we're in Phoenix, won a couple fights. We went up to MFC.
Yeah, I went to MFC. MFC was fun. That was a good. Those fun fights, crazy. Trelawney, right?
Trelawney didn't lose a fight. When you beat Ricardo Trelawney, they told us he was a kickboxer. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and like a world champion one. And then after you beat him, which was just a great performance. Yeah. You remember me? Like, we laughed at me jumping up and down in the corner. I was so excited. But Trelawney won like 16 more fights in a row. Yeah. He didn't lose till it was like a Bellator title fight.
He was super tough. He was super tough. And he just got frustrated. He was kicking my butt. He was on my back standing, and he probably would have won. Like, he's on my back standing, couldn't get the rear naked, got frustrated, pulled my hair back. The referee stopped it, took a point, and we restarted neutral again. And then I had success from there and stuff, but
pulled your hair.
He was frustrated.
In that fight, how frustrated do you have to be?
To yank somebody's hair?
Benson, to be like, you know what?
He was on my back standing with the body trying to land.
Yeah.
And just digging for the rear naked, and then couldn't quite get it, and just like, and he went for the truth.
I mean,
like, it's illegal. Like,
yeah.
So
you're just
gotta
frustrated.
Be at the end of the rope.
Yeah. And not like a subtle, like, hiding so the referee didn't see it.
He didn't yank the ponytail down here.
He did a full-on, like, just pure frustration.
that.
I had forgotten about that.
And that's when I knew that I had him broke. I was like, oh, you're frustrated. You're mad. That means you're getting tired. That means you're getting sad. I know what that means.
That's so funny. I've never heard that story. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, we went to the WC, so how did that happen?
They called us for Andrew Quaney, right? Was it short notice?
It was short notice.
Oh.
It was, we were supposed to fight Junior Sunsao.
Oh.
For the Evo event.
Yeah, for the Evo, the second Evo event never happened.
Junior Sunsao, outside of WEC and the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Hell
we
yeah.
were trying to get in.
Yeah.
We knew Benson was good. We had beaten
Yeah.
Diego Saraiva,
Yeah.
who was like a 8-time UFC vet, tough guy.
He threw a flying omoplata on me. I was like, whoa, it was a good one too. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, show that to me afterwards. It was crazy.
A flying omoplata.
Yeah.
But then they called us short notice, and you fought Anthony Njokuani.
Yep.
What do you remember from that? That's the one he fell asleep at, by the way. So our first time at the big show, that's where he took a nap backstage.
I remember Andrew Quaney. I remember being fun, good experience. Like it was cool.
How many people were in the stands? Like, was it like a way bigger event than you'd ever been at before?
Yeah, for sure.
Like in like a real arena and stuff like that.
Yeah, MFC was like a barn, like a permanent barn type tent structure. You know, like one of those permanent tents. But this was like, was San Diego, Vegas?
Yeah,
no,
San Diego.
San Diego.
It was in San Diego.
Yeah, it was like a big arena. It was first time. Yeah, the music and all that stuff. It was pretty cool. Definitely
I think I remember looking at you. We were backstage because that's the first time with you that we'd been in a bigger spot, and the music was playing, and you could tell you were excited about it. And you looked at me, I looked at you, and I was like, man, if you can't get excited for this job, what job are you going to get excited for? Right before we walked out. Yeah. So then the WC run. What do you think back about when you think about the WC?
Pettis. First thing I hear is Pettis. That fucker.
Damn.
Yeah. But the WC was great. I think helped me grow as a fighter and see what I needed to work on and see how I need to get better. It helped me develop a lot of confidence because of the WC and it's not quite as big as the UFC, but I still had good success with that. But all our training partners, like Effie and then a lot of those guys were in the UFC doing well. Like, how did you do with WC guys against UFC guys? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I train with the UFC guys every day.
You're like, I know how this goes. Actually.
I do pretty well, so like.
Do you remember the disrespect? Like I took it as disrespect when all the talking heads were like,
oh yeah,
WC can't compete with the UFC.
Yeah.
And we were like, literally, well, we have 10 of them in there.
Yeah.
And they compete every day. Like, did you feel that, or did you just care?
I didn't really care too much. Maybe looking back on it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a little, but it was myself, Pettis, Cowboy. There was a ton of guys. Like, we're gonna go through. We're gonna wreck shop. Just wait. You guys do this deal. Get the WC 55ers over there. We're gonna wreck shop.
How many Hall of Famers came out of the WEC? Like, I know, like, not officially, but you got Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber, Mike Brown, Pettis, you, Cowboy, Condit. Like, the list goes on and on. Like, because I remember that's when I first started watching MMA, right? When you were coming up, like, I used to tune in. My uncle was a big WEC fan. He's like, Mike, this is what you're going to have to do. He's like, these are where all the little guys are at. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because, I was like a 103 pounder at the time. So I remember watching, like, Faber and Cruz and stuff like that. Like, I loved the WEC, but.
Yeah. I had forgotten. I just kind of forgot about that. Like, Condit was in there. Because they had 85ers in there, too. Yeah.
Well, Brian Stan was in WC.
Brian Stan was in WC.
Brian Stan.
Yeah, and he had a great MMA career, UFC career. And then he was the announcer for the UFC for a few years.
For a while.
Well, I remember those Cowboy fights. That's kind of starting us out, because Cowboy was a big deal. He had been on that Tap Out show. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So everybody kind of knew who Cowboy was. And he's got such a big personality anyway. Yeah. And we had been supposed to fight Cowboy with Alvin a couple of times.
Oh, I know that.
For the Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire?
Before Alvin went to the UFC.
Yeah.
And
I never knew that.
You never did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think one of the nights when I cornered you first, it was one of the first times it was kind of hinted that they would fight each other.
That's cool.
But I remember watching the preview show. What I remember is we just got done working out. Didn't really know Cowboy. Just knew him vicariously. and we came walking down, and we're trying to figure out where to watch the show, the warm-up show, what do you call it?
Like the countdown? Yeah.
And man, we don't get Versus. I think it was on Versus, maybe. Oh, we don't get Versus. They have it in the lobby. Oh, we should go see. We pull up. Cowboy and his whole team are sitting there in the lobby, and we just kind of stopped and looked at each other, and looked up at the TV, and the thing's coming on. And Donald looked at you, and he goes, "Come on, let's watch this thing." And you literally sat right next to him, and you guys watched the whole thing. It was awesome. We all sat there as teams, and you guys went out and just had a barn burner. Well, not that one. Second one wasn't a barn burner. We guillotined him pretty quick in that one, but just that kind of camaraderie, like it sort of felt like a link togetherness for you and Cowboy.
Yeah. I think Cowboy's always been he is a nice guy. He's always super nice guy to me. I think he's a good personality, big personality, funny guy, and all that stuff. And he was great. I remember that first fight though. Thinking back, what I remember from the first fight, thinking back, was that was the first fight I was able to, like, you know, some wrestling matches, I knew in wrestling match I could give everything, like literally give everything. I'd have to crawl off the mat, be so exhausted, so tired, but I knew I could do that wrestling. I knew that I could give everything as needed. I could give all of myself and be completely spent. But I didn't know if I could do that for MMA. And then for that Donald fight, it was the first time at the end of the fight, like I was literally collapsing to John Crutch. I was like, Crutchy, I'm gonna fall. Crutchy. And he's like, yeah, hold on. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fall.
No.
Yeah, like, literally, I'm gonna fall. Like, I can't stand up. I gave all of myself. I literally held nothing back. And that's what I knew I needed to do to have the success I wanted to have at the higher levels. I needed to be able to give all of myself. But that was the first time I did it in the Cowboy fight.
That was kind of like you, like mentally coming to, like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah, I can do it for
3,
MMA.
I can do it for 5. I can do it for MMA.
Like, I knew I could do it for MMA. I knew I could do it for wrestling, but I didn't know if I could give all of myself like that for MMA. And that fight for Cowboy, like, okay, I can go that far. I can go that deep. I can give all of myself for in this MMA sport.
Well, you literally did, because like he got his hand raised, and we're all excited. Like Rob Monroe,
Big Rob,
was your striking coach for that. What a great guy. And he and I just were like, we didn't know what to do. Like, we were just kind of walking around. We got the belt, you know? And Benson's like, man, I need to sit down. And I go, okay. And I went to go get a stool. He goes, and Ben never curses. He goes, I need to fucking sit down now. I was like, oh. And I grabbed him, and he just went, whoop, and like basically carried you back to the locker room. And you like passed out.
Yeah.
And we went to the hospital. Put an IV in you, and you were in and out for a while. And then Cowboy had kicked you in the eyeball.
Oh, yeah.
With about what?
Like 10 seconds left of the fight.
And is that when it blew up?
Yeah.
Well, they were afraid he was going to lose his eye. So after,
oh, shit.
It was a slight myopic tear, is the wording of something like that. So a slight myopic tear, if it would have been like whatever, this degree, a little bit this way, it would have never seen it.
It would have been bad.
But yeah. I was like, yeah.
But Ben never got hit. Like all his fights, he's not really marked up. And that's the only one in that UFC picture or WC picture where you have your hand raised. And the purple glove is Rob Monroe, by the way, in that picture that's holding your wrist. But then we got done getting you rehydrated, which you were super dehydrated. Yeah. And then we had to go see an eye specialist. So the whole night was at hospitals. And they shuffled us around to a couple different...
What a way to celebrate a world championship.
Well, then we got back to the hotel finally. And we walked in, packed our bags, and left. And Ben couldn't find the WC belt. He didn't know what bag it was in. And he didn't care. You know, some of these guys, they wear the thing around like that's it. And some guy goes, oh, let me get a picture of you with the belt. And Ben's like, oh.
I would have had on only the belt.
Walk around
if I won that belt, I'd be like, yup, here we go.
That's what I remember from that. It was you saying that you found your limit and that you could go all the way. You really did go all the way that night. There was no farther to go. That was pretty impressive.
I mean, you don't really see that in many people's career, right? Like you've been coaching for so long. Now I've been kind of on the coaching side for a little bit. According to these guys, you really don't see somebody empty themselves, right? Like you see somebody who's maybe a little bit tactical, or somebody who's like got a lot of aggression, tries to get that out of there quick, but then they gas, right? So to like be corner side as like a coach, like that's gotta
superhuman.
Like Jerry Cannonier just against who did he fight? What was the guy's name?
Fucking RoboCop.
RoboCop, yeah. That fight. That was Jerry Cannonier having to dig down deep and freaking come through. I was like, oh, you were emotional. I was emotional back in the hotel room watching. I was like, oh, like he had to dig down so deep and
for sure.
Like that was him digging down. I was like, oh God,
It's a superhuman power.
Yeah, crazy.
People don't have it. Like, you get hurt like that, and you're like, yeah, it's probably not my day.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
You don't do that, and he didn't do that. I don't know what that is. That's a superhuman trait. It was amazing.
Watching Cannonier do that was awesome. That was great. Super stoked for him.
You know, he kind of done that a couple of times.
Yep.
He did that with Vittori too. The same weekend I fought that Russian.
He did it with Whitaker.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Whitaker, he'd won a round, and then the third round his arm was broken in the first.
Yeah,
Which
that
is
kick.
enough for some people.
Yeah.
And then he didn't want to block anymore. Like, he did not want to block, but obviously his arm hurt. So he dropped low, and Whitaker, with that same right side right kick, caught him clean, dropped him in the third round. Whitaker got on top of him, mounted him, started punching. Jared worked his way all the way out and hit Whitaker with a body shot at the end that I think turned the fight had there been another minute.
Yeah.
And to see you guys do that is amazing.
Yeah.
So we go WC, we lost that damn Pettis, and then we go into the UFC. What was that transition like?
The transition, I think, was good. I was happy. Not happy, but you gotta find the positives. You gotta play the cards that life deals, you know. So losing the Pettis, going over, he got the
He had to fight Guida first.
He was supposed to have the immediate title shot, but because of
Frankie
and Gray, that was talking about those fights. Those are some good fights. Because of Frankie and Gray and their whole thing, he got pushed back. He ended up losing the Guida. But my mindset going in, that Pettis got the title shot right away. I was like, awesome, good for him, whatever, you know. But now I need to prove myself. I need to go in there. So definitely put a chip on my shoulder and help, you know, motivate me to even have that much more success in the UFC. And I didn't know exactly how it was going to play out, but hoping, like, hey, I'm going to get this belt before Pettis does. He's promised the title shot. He's going to get the title shot right away. But I'm going to have the belt around my waist before he does.
And in hindsight, looking back at it, you losing to Pettis, you went on a tear, right? Like, I remember watching your old fights, chopping people down, pretty much invented the calf kick. Yeah. Then you'd get it to your ground and pound, and you didn't give a shit. Where if you ended up in a submission, if you ended up in a scramble, you hit people so viciously on the ground. I don't think really the UFC had anybody that ground and pounded like that before. You'd have like the Tito. That would be inside, body head, and people thought that was like impressive. That's what they consider ground and pound. You go watch you looking at in their eyes, hitting them in the sternum. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it just.
There's been a few people that have felt the effects of that one.
The first time he put me down was when he was on bottom. How hard he hits off the ground. We were like having like a wrestling day, and I was like in half guard. He had a knee shield up. And I think he could tell, like, I was breaking a little bit, and I was tired. So I was just like, I'll just sit on his leg. I can be here for a little bit. And he, like, snap kicked me just right there. Went down. But, yeah, people don't realize how hard Benson hits the body.
Yeah. Those first three that took us to the title, he's terrible. He kicks really hard.
Yeah.
There's some people that know that, too. We'll just keep those unnamed because they're not here. But there's been some people that have been dropped by that body shot. So we fought Mark Bocek, and then Jim Miller, which was a scary fight because Miller was on like a 9-fight streak. That's still my favorite fight.
Yeah, Bocek was on a big winning streak.
Yeah.
Miller was on a big winning streak.
And then Guida.
Miller was supposed to be like the next dude, though.
Yeah, if he won, he was going to get the title shot.
He was getting the title shot.
And Clay, if he won, he was getting the title shot, right?
Yeah. And then whoever won that one.
Yeah, whoever won that one.
But we kind of I felt slighted that we hadn't gotten it off of the last one.
Yeah.
But then after we beat Guida, all three of those were kind of distinctive Ben Henderson, don't you think? Like,
yes,
signature fights. Just outpaced him, outdid him in all positions.
Getting up after every round. not even breathing, toothpick sticking out.
Were those toothpick days?
Those are toothpick days. I stopped the toothpick after my first child was born because I remember my mom always telling me to take the toothpick out and run around being crazy, you know, that kind of stuff, you know. But I had my first son. I was like, oh, wait, he's going to be like 3 or 4, and he's going to see me with the toothpick in. So he's going to run around with the toothpick. He's like, oh, no, I gotta stop doing it. I gotta cut that out. So after my first one was born, I cut that out a lot.
People gave me a bad time about, well, you're his coach. You should, I'm like, you try to make him do something. Like, Ben's pretty stubborn, right?
Yeah, you've done this to me on days where you're like, hey, you're running wrestling. You're like, don't let Benson just kill everybody. And I go, you tell him. I go, you want me to? I go, no, he's big bro. I go, he comes in, he says that.
I took it kind of seriously, and I was like, because you shouldn't use a toothpick. Yeah. So I'm like,
we roll around that, and that was.
So I checked his mouth. So he's going in the ring. I go, hey, you have a toothpick in? No. Let me see. I literally looked. He had it sitting on his gum on the mouthpiece so I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Halfway through there and that thing poked up, I gave up. But when we were training, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So we were training in Denver, and I had something like a choke or something.
You were naked, yeah.
And I was squeezing it, but I didn't think like Ben doesn't tap easily. I'm squeezing, and he reached up slow and tapped. And I'm like, huh, was that tight? And he reaches in his mouth, and the toothpick had shot up into his gum, and that's why he tapped. I'm like, okay, I can't even take any satisfaction from that. He's like, it was tight, but takes that thing out.
It's more of a face crank.
I'm like, oh, okay. So you stabbed, and he still used it after that.
Normally I can tuck it away so it doesn't affect, obviously roll around and wrestling and all that stuff. It tuck it away, it doesn't matter. That time though, it got stuck in the inside of my cheek. I felt it slide inside. I was like, oh, that hurts a little bit. I was like, okay, I'll move a little bit. But it got stuck in the going deep. I was like, oh, I got to tap. All right. So,
that's funny, man. Do you, obviously great UFC career, you moved on to Bellator. How did that feel? You happy for that change? Did it just feel inevitable that it had to be, or?
I thought the Bellator one, I was happy with it. I was happy that I made my decision. I was doing it my way, not necessarily like everyone else at the time. UFC being the monopoly that it is, just doing what they say and stuff, going to Bellator, doing it my way. I love the Bellator years. I think the Bellator was great. Had some good, fun fights. Didn't win as many of them as I'd like to. I like that. I did get the shot right away. The Russian was
Koreshkov.
Yeah, Koreshkov beat the tar out of me for 5 straight rounds. So I like that. I had respect going over. Got the title shot right away. Got beat up, but then the next 2 or 3 title shots I had to earn those back. Like I wasn't given it. They gave me the first title shot. I got beat up. That was at 170. But the next ones I had to earn. So I like that. I had to go out there and earn that, and I earned my way back. I had to fight whatever it was 4 or 5 times to earn my way back to the next title shot, and that's exactly what I went and did.
Yeah. I was looking at the list I was looking at your record because I don't have it, or I have it now, but I don't think about it in those terms. I don't have the numbers.
Yeah.
Of all of your losses, only one has been to a non-champion.
Yeah.
One. Rocky Johnson. Shout out to
Rocky Johnson.
But
you old bastard, you.
And we lost that we lost that decision to Cerrone, which was controversial. But Cerrone was in the UFC title fight. He was in 2 WC title fights with you.
Yeah.
And then he was in
the one in Boston.
Yes.
Yeah.
That fight still makes my blood boil. Like we're just not going to count leg kicks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough. Sometimes it goes against you, and a few went our way, that were close fights. But, like, Donald was in 3 or 4 title fights.
Yeah.
You never fought anybody easy.
No.
Again.
Yeah. I think like someone had told me before, like of your however many losses, 8 of them or 90% of them, 85% of them are to future or former world champions. Like, that's not too bad. That's okay. It makes me feel better.
For sure.
Makes me feel all right.
It's like you lose a fight, then the guy gets a knockout.
Yeah.
Hey.
10 of 12 are world champions.
Yeah, 10 of 12 to world champions.
And then
Like, that's not too bad.
Cerrone is he was a championship contender multiple times and has been a UFC Hall of Famer now.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Your competitiveness, I think, for me, your willpower and your competitiveness are what define you as an athlete. Whenever anybody asks me that, you weren't ever the fastest or the strongest. Like, you're a good athlete, of course, but I want to know. That's what I kind of want to finish up with. I want you to talk about how competition, how it fuels you, how it's driven your life. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. What brings that out in you, do you think?
I'm not sure. For me, I think just that competitive fire, that drive to keep going. I think a lot of it stems from early childhood, being the youngest, the smallest cousin, being the youngest brother. I had 2, 3, 4 older cousins always be the tar than my brother and I, because we were younger, smaller. And my brother used to always beat me up because I was the smallest one. So they just never stopped me. Like, hey, I'm not gonna stop. You might beat me this one, but I'm going again. Like that started when I was like,
I'll get my one.
Yeah, that started when I was like, all the little brothers, the little cousins growing up, they just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. I think I started when like 4 or 5, and then just kept going till even today now still,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the competitive drive, the desire to just keep on going, to not stopping, to always trying to improve and stuff, had a huge impact in who I am, not just in fighting and stuff, but in life in general, you know?
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, just knowing you the whole time, people always ask me if I thought you were going to be, but did you know right away? I had no idea. You know, I just knew that you were a great kid, you worked hard, you listened really well, you were always there. And then you always wanted to compete. Like remember there was a little jiu-jitsu tournament in Denver, and they allowed heel hooks.
Yeah.
You'd never seen a heel hook before. So he went, I'm going to go do this tournament. I was like, okay, cool, good luck, you know. I didn't know him very well. You came back, hey, this kid caught me in this thing. Oh, it's a heel hook. How do I get out? So we worked on getting out. He saw the kid at the next tournament and beat the kid. Yeah. And that's been,
Probably heel hooked him.
that's been Ben the whole time, you know, and the Cerrone fight. But there's been so many fights. I mean, that Koreshkov fight and the Chandler fight, both were back-to-back title fights. You fought that with a torn ACL, both of them. And the Koreshkov fight was with a broken collarbone, which are things you never talk about, and you shouldn't, but I'm going to talk about them because that's superhuman. That's amazing. So, I don't know, man. Your competitiveness and your willingness to do whatever it takes to get to the end of it is, I think, what defines you.
Well,
as a
and
champion.
I think the legacy he's leaving too, right? Like, look at what you two have built here. You know what I mean? Went from that little gym right up the road with the shallow ceilings where it get hotter than shit in there and people are sparring for their lives. You know what I mean? To come in here to building this fight team. Like, find a person in that gym that has anything bad to say about you.
Well,
Like,
imagine
you
take
know,
that
like
back
no-
even farther
yeah.
to a spot in Denver. This little tiny Delgado's boxing
The guy was
gym.
boxing gym.
And the guys are living upstairs. They are not nice people, and the mats aren't together. Like, we have to roll them every time. So we didn't tape them because you couldn't. So it was cool, but it was small. And then we'd go to this little boxing gym. Went to Trevor Whitman's gym, and we didn't have normal stuff. So, and then I didn't know what the hell I was doing either. Maybe still don't, but at the time it was very young in the sport. So for us to stick together through all that and get to where we got is a pretty amazing story.
For sure.
I agree.
The best to ever do it. Champ, thank you.
Of course.
You're the man. I love
Thank
you,
you.
man.
Love you, Passion.
I love you, man.
Love you, man.
All right, that's it for our thing today. What do you think, Michael? That was pretty good.
Yeah. One of our favorite people ever, if not our favorite person. Great dude, human all around. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys loved it as much as we did.
See you next time.